All right, are we live?
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict show. One day after my birthday.
Yes, happy birthday,
Thank you.
David.
Thank you. I got so many from all of you. Thank you.
Mhm.
But I had two parties. It was another birthday party last night after dinner. I didn't expect one, but so anyway.
Well, and if you want to see a picture of it,
Sure. I got no problem. Yeah,
well,
why not?
so it's in the community tab here on YouTube. I
Yeah.
posted a picture of you with your pecan pie.
Oh, yeah, you guys check it out. I only had a small piece of that pie. You got to be careful with sugars.
Mhm.
So, anyway, very, very excited to be with you guys. And we got an interesting topic. Of course, 2024 comes like at a full speed. Yeah, you
Yeah.
will think that. No, a continuation of 2023, except with more complexities on a host of issues. So, and this is one of them, has to do with the financial, given that, which what we're going to be talking about. And now we're going to be detailing on Rumble later on.
Yes,
correct?
immediately after this,
Yeah, you
we are going
guys
to be on
just make
Rumble.
sure as soon as we're done here, you jump in on Rumble because we're going to be detailing also some other stuff there. So, and the reason we wanted to address this one is because one of the key that we tend to have for us when we have presidential elections
Mhm.
is to always show the economy is doing well.
Absolutely.
The administration would be lying.
Yeah.
Did you hear what just the incompetent Biden said?
Oh my God. It's
Recent.
yeah,
It's
it's
recent.
one after another.
It has to do with now. I am officially going to cut off the imports of oil from Russia.
First of all, that's insanity. And second of all, what is he trying to accomplish there, right? Because
Well-
there are a lot of rumblings behind this. So it would be the Russia-Ukraine
Yeah.
situation, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of rumblings behind the scenes that this is already over, and more or less Washington's been
whatever,
encouraging
increasing.
Ukraine to
But
go
there
to
is a
the
third
negotiating
element
table.
also,
Yeah.
which is the stupidity of some of us Americans. And I'll
Mhm.
say it.
Yeah.
I don't shy away from that. The stupidity is they don't realize that they're going to be paying far more expensive prices at the gas pump
Yeah.
just because the idiot president, the incompetent president said so.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to cut off the Russians. And they don't understand. American people, don't understand that it's going to end up harming them.
Hugely.
He's doing it because of the elections.
Mhm.
It's the presidential elections, that is so. But overall, and I did read an article that the end of 2023
Mhm.
saw the downfall of the US dollar value in comparison to
Yeah.
other, with the increase in oil and gold.
Right. Well, and that leads us directly into what we're talking about
Yeah.
today. And that is the BRICS. Who
Indeed.
is in and who is out? And Argentina's big mistake. Is it a fatal flaw?
Well, that's by design. First
Yes.
of all, let me just say this. That's by design because the administration knew that they
Mhm.
were preparing Malay Khafir, who is, by the way, was an apprentice in World Economic Forum. So you can just see the agenda
Surprise,
right there.
surprise.
So we set him up for that. Of course, the Argentinian people also are to blame. They voted for the guy.
Yep.
And he told them, oh, we're going to take down the pesos, the currency in Argentina, and de-dollarize.
Yep.
Or
Re-dollarize.
I'm sorry, re-dollarize. In other words, using the US currency.
Mhm.
The problem in Argentina is they're already in a sink on a debt from the IMF.
Yep.
Which was taken back in 86, if I'm not mistaken, in the
Mhm.
80s. Still has not been paid yet.
Which is unreal.
Yeah.
To
But
still
that
be
was-
paying back
but
debt
that
from
was
the
for a
80s.
reason.
Yeah.
For a reason. It's about 41 to 42 billion dollars.
Yeah.
To my knowledge. So the issue of the BRICS as a whole, of course, you have the element in BRICS that is causing more problems.
Mhm.
Do you guys guess which country is that? Can you type in on the chat box?
Oh yeah.
Let me see.
I'm curious to see what they say.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure our viewers here, they're very
Mhm.
smart enough to know. The country that is really, really, everybody's been calling for, maybe time for this country to leave.
To replace a certain
Yeah.
letter.
Yeah, because there are other countries that are
Mhm.
worth considering.
Absolutely.
I'll take the example
Absolutely.
of Indonesia.
Mhm.
I'll take the example of Malaysia.
And the I would perhaps replace the
Yeah.
I.
Even
Oh,
Iran.
Here it is. You want to see the answer?
Yeah, Carlos Ortiz, India.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Uh,
You're
Ti-
absolutely correct.
Taiwan isn't a country, got it first.
Yeah,
Do you see it?
yeah,
That's a name, by the way.
that's the name. Taiwan still.
Yeah.
Taiwan still. Speaking
Yep.
of Taiwan, they are coming to some elections soon, so we will talk about that at some point.
Yep.
But the idea is true. It's because India, as I always said, I still stand by my statement, is the weak link inside the BRICS.
Yep.
They need to figure out arrangements by which to give, India can live with face, so it won't lose face per se. I don't see the mechanism in BRICS to force India to live. I don't think so. It does exist.
Well, and here's the thing about India, and I want your opinion on this too, because the thing is, interestingly enough, the choices. So let's go over the choices really quick that BRICS made, because we know that Argentina said no. Okay, we know that they said no.
President is the new president
because the new president
got the orders.
Right.
He got the orders from his master.
Right. Because
straightforward.
If it had been, BRICS would not have offered an invitation to Argentina if it had been a different presidential, the outcome had been different in the presidential election.
And also,
I think.
Because it was Brazil that extended the invitation. So that also at the same time, Brazil and Argentina, we're talking, prior to this president, they were talking about creating a common currency called the SUR.
Yeah.
Of course, that raised the red flag in Washington. That's why the elections went certain directions, pushed this guy to win the elections and change the direction. As a matter of fact, he was in the White House. It was a quiet visit.
Yeah.
He met the national security advisor, one over there. That tells you right there the story.
Well, and if you look at, this is my understanding of, like, to get a certain level of security clearance, you can't have a certain level of debt, because if you have a certain level of debt, people can buy you off, right?
That's right.
Debt is a really big problem. And so when we look at countries, look at who they're indebted to. Because if you're like you said, Argentina has this massive IMF loan, that they've been paying on for what, 40, 50 years now? Well, no, 30 years.
Since the 80s.
30 years. Sorry, guys, my math. But about 30, almost 40 years, 37-ish years that they've been paying on this loan, right? With no end in sight. They're not about to pay off this loan.
No, it won't.
So when you look at who a country is indebted to, right now, they're indebted to the IMF.
We didn't want them to sort of embark on economic ventures with the BRICS members or Brazil or China or whatever.
Yeah.
Because anytime a country moves up economically, it will be in less demand from you.
Yeah.
You as the country that pressure, in the case of Argentina, others have said a counter argument to that.
Yeah.
They said it's better that Argentina didn't join BRICS. And some might have been right about it. So
there's a solid point there.
This is why I believe the BRICS will have really now, it's in a crucial time frame.
Yeah.
Why? Because the shifting of the geopolitical landscape, and if BRICS wants to play an impactful role, both economically and politically, it has to have its house in order.
Absolutely.
You can't do that if you have an element that can undermine your policies. And my reference is to India. Let's just say it straightforward. Of course, India will have to look after its own interest. Nobody's arguing that. But at the same time, if you are to move as a cohesive entity, you don't want to, either be part of the team or not.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Well, so here's my interesting point actually about India. This is my question.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to put this actually out to you guys in the audience.
I want to say thank you to Caramel Crush.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your super sticker. You wrote Venezuela should replace Argentina.
That's interesting.
Some have argued because he got a point there. You know why? What does Venezuela have?
What?
What is Venezuela?
Venezuela has oil. Yeah.
And what else?
Hold on. I'm about to ask this question to everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So what is the thing that is in common among a lot of the people that just got entered into BRICS. So we have Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Ethiopia, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
What is a common thread? And I'm asking you guys this. What is a common thread between these countries? Obviously, David, you know. But Venezuela also has gold.
Well, it's still stolen.
Yeah, well.
You know who has it, right?
The U.S. Doesn't the U.S. has it? No. Who has their gold? The UK has their gold. Yeah.
UK, shame on the UK for not doing the right thing. Yeah. And some always say, well, since when Britain even did the right thing?
Yeah. Oh, no.
I mean, literally, shame on them. They should return that gold to its rightful owners.
Yeah.
You have even India. India's gold is still in England. England should return gold to India.
Absolutely.
Because it belongs to India. Same thing, they need to return it to Venezuela.
Well, and
Germany, where is its gold?
I don't know where Germany
right here in the US.
Yes, that's what I figured.
We never give it back.
Yeah.
Saudis have a lot of gold here. That's why they claim.
That I do know. Yeah.
So, and this is where all this dynamics, it's moving. You look at, for example, now this conversation about the day after when it comes down to Gaza and all that stuff. Who did the US talk to send the message to Iran? Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So it shows you, just guys, to understand, when it comes down to movements on the geopolitical landscape, there is always a calculation. Always keep that in mind. Countries will have to think in those terms. So we are thinking in those terms, except now that the shifting of the global order, it's not to our favor. So what we're doing, fomenting more tensions.
Absolutely.
But the big problem for us is going to be the financial aspect.
Oh, absolutely.
That's going to be the nail on the coffin.
So interestingly enough, a whole bunch of you guys said the answer, and the answer is oil. You are absolutely right. I see a bunch of you guys have said this, but oil. Yep. And it's actually been very interesting looking at the priority that specifically Russia and China have put on oil stability and oil security. Because as we know, Russia produces cheap oil and gas. Yeah. And China has been very busy in the Middle East securing routes of access to energy, access to oil. And that's one of the things that the United States is actually failing at right now, which is a very, very big problem. And as you know, when President Joe Biden came into office, what is one of the first things he did?
Cut off the
he shut down Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we're watching.
Americans were smiling and happy and all this. So idiot. Yeah. Really, some of my fellow Americans are idiots.
Well, the thing is, it's not that the Keystone Pipeline was a problem in its own right, because first of all, they went through native lands. They went through Native American lands that they absolutely had no business doing. And ecologically, if something was going to happen, so there was a lot wrong that happened there. But it's always the short-sighted policy, because if you shut it down, the next problem is, where do you get your oil from?
You have to get it from the Middle East.
You have to get it from the Middle East. But when your relationship with the Middle East is deteriorating, you have a really big problem.
Well, there's only the guarantees, at least for the Saudi oil, is because you have the Saudi lobbyists inside Washington.
Right.
And some of those lobbyists that I know of were former members of Congress. There's one guy by the name Coleman. I forget his first name. He was a representative from, I think, Kansas, if I'm not mistaken. Became a lobbyist for the Saudis. So to the Saudis and Saudis won't care.
Yeah.
They won't care about what the US does. What they will care about, there's a market where they can sell their oil.
Absolutely.
So to them, the whole survival of the monarchy depends on, and Saudis do have a lot of oil. Except that now they got another opportunity in the East.
Right.
And China's consumption of energy is only going up.
Right.
And what just happened recently is that the sovereign funds from some Middle Eastern countries, well, they are mainly three. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and United Arab Emirates. Their sovereign funds has been shifted to the East. Sovereign funds means that's where all your ventures
and
the financial aspects, whatever. Well, when this shifts, it's not about $100 million. What we're talking about, serious amount of money.
Right.
It shifted east.
It's many billions.
Yeah. It's also because they understand where things are headed.
Right.
They don't want to be left behind.
Right.
So when our president will say, well, we're going to cut off the energy from complete cut off the import from Russian oil, whatever. Sure, you can do that. But who's going to end up paying the price for that?
It's us. That's us, unfortunately.
And that's the short-sightedness of, we don't have leadership here in this country anymore. I don't care what you say as far as where this guy will be good, this guy, none. Because the system is corrupted.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But the key that is going to be the fundamental thing is the financial aspect. That's going to be the nail on the coffin for the U.S. hegemony on the global stage.
Well, are you talking about the fall of the petrodollar?
Well, the dollar in general term, and that is tied to, this is why once officially, is the key, once officially OPEC announced that all its transactions will be conducted in some other currency beside the dollar, that's the end.
Right.
Watch out for that, guys. For now, you only have certain countries that they do bilateral currency trade with, like, for example, Saudi Arabia and China.
Right.
China and Saudi Arabia made the arrangements that for China to get the oil from the Saudis will be willing to accept the payments in the yuan.
Yeah.
No. Now, that's big difference between that and the digital currency for the yuan itself. That's a separate conversation for another day. Iran sells its oil to China in return for yuan, not the dollar. Russia, of course, is doing it. And Russia is not an OPEC member, it's an OPEC plus. So my point is to give you an idea that once that aspect of the transactional in the dollar ends, that will end U.S. dominance around the world.
And that's what I think the U.S. is actually very scared of right now.
Well, we can be scared all we want. It's the reality, whether we like it or not.
Absolutely.
To our own making, of our own making. I mean, let's not shift the blame on other countries, because we created the policies. We created those failed policies that we use. And we can't be blaming others. So the financial aspects, this is where it's going to be. The counter argument to all this is what BRICS will do.
Right.
How BRICS will proceed. BRICS also will have to be very careful as to who they invite.
Right.
You don't want to get too big too quick.
Right.
You end up causing problems. They're already having an issue there right now.
Right, with India. Absolutely. So I find it very interesting because India is a very interesting player. So one of the big issues that's happening right now is the exchange between, and this has actually been going on for a little while, but it's still going on. And that is that Russia, they were doing their oil transaction in rupees.
With India, yeah.
With India. So the problem is that India does not have enough basically goods that have high quality standards. I'm not saying everything. There's some beautiful, amazing things that come out of India. However, fundamentally, there's some severe infrastructure problems in terms of manufacturing. It's a problem that China had back in the day. People thought, oh, it's cheap Chinese stuff. But now Chinese manufacturing is very high quality. India doesn't have that quite yet. And so there isn't enough to trade for that to make sense. So Russia is now holding a bunch of rupees that it doesn't is more or less worthless because they don't have anything to really buy with them. So there are problems that are sort of arising between these different currencies. But I will tell you that India and Russia are working that out, and the countries, because it is interesting, right? It is interesting looking at the different currencies and how are they going to do that at a global level.
Well, they can, for example, as a suggestion, what do you guys think? What do you suggest? And here is my question. I won't give the answer yet, but I want to hear it from you. What do you think Russia could suggest to India? So, and I'll see where your thinking is before I'll give my answer for that. So just type that in, please, on the chat box. There is an alternative. That I can see Russia moving forward with that. but I also can see India saying no.
I'm interested. I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Let's first see what the community says here about that.
Okay.
What other measure beside the currency itself? Oh, somebody got it. Yeah, they got it. That's why I told you our community is smart enough.
You guys are
You
smart.
guys are absolutely correct. It's gold.
Yep.
So Russia could ask India, sure, you don't want to, we prefer that you could pay us in gold because the value of gold is. Now, India might object to that because India will not want to decrease its gold reserves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can see the logic into that in India.
Yeah.
But I also see the logic that when you decided to get cheap oil from Russia and you turned around and sold it to Europe, making 3 or 4 or 5 times the deal.
Crazy.
Yeah, you don't want to screw up the, pardon my language here, you don't want to mess up with your sort of ally, if I may use the term, because remember, there is a good relationship between Russia and India, especially on the military front.
Yeah.
So that's known and all that stuff. Yeah, gold, you guys absolutely correct. Gold will be one of the alternatives. Yeah. Now, where is the challenge for that? For the dollar.
That is
where the things are connected. I mean, as we all remember, back in August 1971, when Nixon said, well, we will temporarily suspend the gold back to the dollar.
Yeah.
Temporarily.
Yeah, it was not temporary. Turns out that was forever.
Permanent.
And, and I'm sure at the time he didn't think it was temporary either. That's just like when what was it, 2 years ago, they kept saying inflation is transitory.
Yeah.
It's not, they knew it wasn't transitory.
It's a lie.
It's still here, right?
It's a lie.
And so the same thing with temporarily, they knew they weren't going to put that back on the gold standard. And so now we have what we have because of it. But the really big problem is, so the United States has done a very, very strange thing in terms of its own budget, because right now you would think that with spending through the roof like it's been, and basically the government, so this has happened before where there's been a budget problem and they've threatened to shut the government down, right? That's happened before.
Yeah.
But in the last maybe 2 years, it's happened over and over and over again, and we're facing it happening again. And so they just, there's a bill and it, they say, oh, it's fine, it's bipartisan, we got this, okay, right? But the problem is there's no concerted effort to bring the budget back down.
They don't care.
They don't care
because they are taking care of themselves while average citizens. And this is what I always say. You can't just point fingers at the government. People have to take responsibility as well.
Agreed.
So when you are hearing the incompetent president saying, well, we're going to cut off this and that and that, and people saying, yeah, good. Well, you're going to end up paying the price for that.
Right.
Inflation's still going. This is what drove the dollar down a few months before the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, as a matter of fact, I looked at some data and I did find one. Did you know that the dollar index dropped by about 100.54 points, the lowest since April 2022?
Yeah.
So the other thing was that the greenback, the dollar that is, hit its lowest against the Swiss franc since 2015.
Yeah.
So all this while the Treasury Secretary is saying, oh, there is no inflation.
No problem. Everything's fine.
Do you know where she is now? You want to know?
Janet Yellen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know where she is at?
Where?
Which country?
Where?
Can you guys guess?
Yeah. Oh, guys, guys, guess.
Can you guys guess? I know you can look it up online. Let me guess. Let you guess. Which country she's at? Very interesting reason why she's in this country. So let's just see this one.
Somebody guessed China.
No.
Hong Luang guessed China. Sorry.
No.
It's not China. Oh, no. We have a second vote for 3 people said China.
No.
4 people said China.
No.
So
it's an Arab country. No.
All right. You might have to tell them.
She's in Egypt at the time of this conversation. Why?
Because Egypt just joined BRICS.
Well, not only that, it's the issue also of the currency.
Yeah.
You know, the pound in Egypt is going down, but also there is some sort of a conversation regarding the IMF loan. In addition to all this,
Yeah.
is what's taking place in Gaza. Because remember, Egypt saying no refugees here, and mobilized its military to the desert.
Yeah.
In Sinai Desert and so on. But Janet Yellen is there because of the BRICS. Because remember, 2024, the summit is going to be invited. That's paving the way for all that. That is the reason why they do not, they meaning the US administration, doesn't want, because it starts seeing countries are moving faster and faster on the other direction.
Absolutely.
Who are you going to have? Who are you going to be left with? You're going to be left with the likes of Canada, UK, Germany. Even in Germany. Did you see what happened in Germany recently?
Well, we have an episode coming out about Germany, perhaps trying to get it. Okay.
Talk about it over there.
Okay.
But just what they are asking for now in Germany. You would be amazed.
I'm very interested.
We'll talk about it on Rumble.
Okay.
It's not that we. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this in Rumble. Just you guys join us after.
This is the link. Sorry, guys, I don't know if I can find it and point. Yep, that's the link. Well, you have to go to it. It's not a link because you can't click on the screen. But we're gonna be on Rumble immediately after this.
Yeah. So that is the whole idea of thinking in terms why we are concerned about where BRICS is headed. But there is one reason that I am gonna say it. I know I get sort of pushback from some nasty comments about you don't like India, you don't do this. That is not true. It's not my nature not to like people and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
If I don't like you, I'll tell you to your face. I don't sugarcoat things. This way you know where I stand. People like it, people don't. Did you know why they used to respect me in DC?
Why?
Because I wasn't sugarcoating things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had one time. Do you want me to share a story?
Yes, please. Please.
You guys want me to share a personal story?
Yes.
Okay.
I am sure they do.
Okay. Well, I usually don't talk much about my. It was this high-ranking officer back in the day. Asked me a question. Mr. O, I didn't have a PhD at the time. Mr. O, what do you think of this, that pertain to the Middle East? So I answered. And I could see this high ranking without giving the rank because it's way up. I could see the look on his face was like, I don't like what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And I didn't work for the guy. So I don't give a damn what he thinks.
Yeah.
So, and I said, well, apparently you don't seem to like the answer, sir. Well, Mr. O, this is not a, I said, no, it is. It's something that I know about. And I was like, yeah, but I said, well, sorry, sir. If you do not like my answer, do not ask me.
Yeah.
I was in possession to say that because if he got a problem with me, he can take it with the boss, meaning the White House. I don't work for the guy.
Yeah.
You asked me a question. I gave you the answer based on my knowledge.
Yeah.
But also I have to give you the answer that will benefit my country, the people.
Right.
He was thinking in terms of political career. You know how it works.
Right. I do.
And I wasn't willing to do that. So that's the same. The reason why I'm sharing this story.
Yeah.
Same thing. When I say something directly about India, they think, oh, you don't like India. No, it's not about that. It's about what pragmatic. And that's what I say. And for India, is the issue with BRICS is if BRICS moves forward, it will always be undermined because India is playing both sides.
Yeah.
And what the big problem for India is that we are using India. Whether they know it or not, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
But if they are in need of the what's the word I'm looking for? Patronage from the West. They're gonna do whatever. That means what? That means you never rid yourself of that mentality, the colonialism that was.
Well, and India, at least when I went to India, my experience was that there was a very bitter taste left in Indians' mouths from British colonialism.
Yeah, but the Brits didn't do well for it.
No, they did not.
Let's set the record straight. What the Brits British Empire per se bid to India is horrific. Let's just say it straightforward. This is why at least the first thing this new king, King Charles, can do is to return the stolen gold to India because it belongs to India. What they can do with it is their prerogative, but give them what it belongs to them. However, for the Indians elite, and we're talking about the government here, we're not talking about people. For Indian elites to be pursuing policies that undermine BRICS under the pretext of, well, it's our strategic interest, whatever. Of course, you have to look after your own strategic interest. But if you are being used by the West to undermine, then there is no need for you to be in BRICS anymore.
Definitely.
Time for decision. And I think they need to, if BRICS doesn't resolve this issue, mark my word on this, it will always be undermined. So the credibility of the BRICS will not move forward as the world is shifting to a has already shifted to a multipolar. But if BRICS wants to play a major role, it's going to have to get its house in order.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting because India isn't just undermining BRICS, it's also undermining the US. So it's undermining both sides. And I don't know that that's really that great of a place to be.
You can be on both sides of the fence. You're either here or there. Because at some point, you're going to fall one way or another. Because logically, even in physics, when you use the weight and all that stuff, you can either one side or another. So
well,
India will have to think about this.
I will make this argument though, because I do think that it's very hard for me to look at the world and say one side versus the other side, right? Because to me, that shouldn't be, it should truly be multipolar, right? So not like wipe, you know, one country off the map or the other country off the map economically, but rather have an environment where there is the buildup of globally all countries, and not, you know, power all the way goes to one country or one set of countries also, because that creates the same problem. It's the same haves versus have-nots problem. And that's one thing that was that Germany actually faced after World War I, is when they were absolutely obliterated financially. What didn't breed peace? Clearly it didn't breed peace, because then we had World War II. And so what is it going to take to actually make more of a level playing field across the globe? Because especially some of these smaller countries, they're still being jacked around. It doesn't matter by who, but they're still being jacked around. Look at Egypt. Janet Yellen being in Egypt. This is
why she's there. She's there because she wants to pressure. But there is this notion of that the world is moving into a different direction. If you think about, just think about it when we started this channel. You know, and how many people have sort of their knowledge of understanding at least now what's going on global stage have increased substantially, but also because they were willing to learn. And that in itself, not just about our community here, but the whole world writ large. There is this movement of sort that may be time for us to move away from thinking of things in black and white. So, and that applies to politics as well. You start to say, well, enough of this unipolar world, because it ain't working.
It's not working. Absolutely.
And this is why you're seeing now the shift going into the opposite end, because you want to create some sort of a balance. And this has to do all with really where the world is headed. It's going. There is this, if I may use the term, awakening of sort. It's baby steps.
I think so.
But it's getting there. People start to ask questions that matter. And this is where, and more you start to see the hollow or how exposed politicians are. Especially, I speak for my country. I can't speak for others. They can do whatever they want. It's their country. I can't speak for that. But for us, at least, we start to see. But at the same time, American people will have to wake up. They can't just be blaming government. You are a citizen, which means you do have a responsibility one way or another. You don't have to be a billionaire to make change. You can change at your own capacity.
Absolutely.
For whatever means, whatever ways you could. Yeah, heck, even writing a book, you could make a change with it.
Yeah.
To me, that's how I look at it. So, because I never liked that short change, or shortcuts. I gotta shift the blame on someone else instead of looking inward.
Right.
Let's look inside for us Americans first. Us.
Yeah.
Are we aware of what's going on?
Well, and interestingly enough, one of the easiest things to do is not support war anymore, not buy into the traditional narrative, because there's a huge difference right now. Yeah. And I posted about this on the community, and a lot of the answers I think were very spot on.
Yeah.
So there's a community tab here in YouTube, guys, if you don't know about it. But it's a community tab here in YouTube. And the poll was, why is there such a difference between millennials and Gen Z's opinion of specifically the Israel-Hamas conflict and those who are older, right? So the boomers and Gen, I think Gen, what is it? X was like in between.
Yeah.
But why is there such a difference between the older and the younger populations? And the reason that people gave typically, and I think this is probably true, is the internet, because censorship is real. Absolutely. Censorship is real. However, it's very hard to censor the entire internet of an entire country, right?
Yeah.
And so, especially when people grab a hold of information and that starts trending, I think the algorithm has a very hard time saying, no, you can't because, right? And so younger people are actually going out and really looking for the information, and more are saying no more wars, no more wars, no more wars. Yeah. And you can see that in the fact that military recruitment is so low.
Well, this is why we hope that you guys find the channel very informative here, because that's what we do. That's what we do. And by the way, we're going to be doing on locals. We're going to be doing sort of discussions there on really the most pressing topics or urgent topics, whatever. We are always open to your suggestions as far as the topics that you would like us guys to also address, because you are part of the community. So it goes both ways. Yeah, we can pick up the topics and all that stuff, but we want you to be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And personally, for me, and I speak for myself, I enjoy doing this, because it became to me the whole reason maybe for why I'm here. I started this morning, I got up and I was thinking of really, what is my mission in life?
Yeah.
You start to think. Even yesterday, I know some put a comment that that was so kind of you to spend your birthday with that. Well, you're part of the community.
Yeah.
It won't hurt to take a portion of the day, part of the day, and spend it with, because I wanted to do that. Yeah. And I truly wanted to. It's not about, me, I don't do things for the sake of just.
No, you don't. You do not.
No. If I don't mean it, I won't do it.
Right.
So, but that's what I meant, guys. Your opinion matters.
Yeah.
Your insights matter. So that's the whole reason, is to raise awareness. That's the only reason for all this, because the more you become aware, the more you're going to spread the word to others. And that's how we evolve as a human species per se, for the sake of our humanity.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So that's the whole idea. So to go back to our point, to wrap it up here, and we'll jump on the
onto Rumble. Yeah. Yes.
The idea of let me see here first. Okay, we still have a few time here.
Yeah.
The idea of thinking about the financial aspects, because especially for us, my big concern here is the next generation, especially in the US. The next generation that's going to be dealing I read some reports. Those are into the future. Sometimes I read stuff from futurists, like, for example, Dr. Miko Kaku. Physicist. I read his stuff.
Yeah, he's great. I do too.
Because you got to think in terms of down the road. But sometimes I look into the financial aspects down the road.
Yeah.
And one of the things that caught my attention is that by 2050, we're going to reach about $300 trillion.
In debt?
Yes. Yeah, that's how it's going to go. And by the turn of the century, I won't be here.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to extend my stay. I like to live when I know time to go, time to check out. So, by the turn of the century, it will be about 1.2 quadrillion.
Yeah.
And all this is because if you go back a century ago, see where history comes in, and you see where the spike is going, and that's fermented by conflicts, too much borrowing, living beyond our means, and when you have the infrastructure that the money was supposed to be spent on is not.
Yeah. And there you go.
Yeah, and right there. And that is frightening to me, not for me personally, it's for the next generation, because it's not fair to them. So the government putting everybody in debt,
right?
You know, everyone to that last, everyone I think owes about every individual, about either $39,000 or $95,000.
Yeah, I can pull up the national debt clock if you want. If you guys want a real big scare,
it's the reality. We have to see the reality for what it is. But if Americans, and again, even for you might be watching this from some other parts of the world, what's going to be happening here in the US financially is going to trickle down to your location. So, and this is why you need to have a plan in place. Just consider whatever, don't keep all your cash in the bank, by the way, guys. FYI.
Well, a lot of people have actually taken their cash out of the bank. It's been a really big, it's been you and many other people.
Yeah. Well, I gotta advise our community to be aware of that. Do not keep all your cash in the bank.
And we are not financial advisors and blah, 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 blah. Yes. Use your logic. Use your common sense, guys. Use your logic. Okay. Check it out. National debt clock. David, debt per citizen is actually more than that.
What is it?
Debt per citizen is $101,000. Debt per taxpayer is $264,000.
And where our tax money is spent on? Preventing conflict.
Right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Shame. I look at it just recently with what just took place in Iraq. Did you know the attacks on the US?
I
did a video on it on the other channel. And now the Iraqi government is asking the US to leave. And the Pentagon said, no, we're not leaving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's problematic. Iraq is a sovereign state. So that means we're going to be perceived as occupiers.
Right.
And which means what? Under international law.
Yeah.
You have the right to self-defense.
Yeah. No, that's an absolutely bad deal.
This is the exact conditions in Gaza.
Yeah.
Under international law. That is what it says. You have the right to self-defense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, international law, I don't know how far it goes, really.
Yeah. We all know how corrupted the international system is.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that is what we wanted to share with you about all this one here. And we're going to further the conversation on the other side.
On Rumble.
But we will take one question or two if there is one. And please, guys, hit the like button. We truly appreciate it.
Definitely.
And of course, if this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe.
Okay. Let me see. And guys, put question in front of the word in front of your question so I can read it easily. Okay. I don't know. I did not see.
No
we need to ask this sooner because there's a lag between when we ask that question and when they see it. But I'll plug our locals. So guys, if you want to support us, locals is a great place to do that. And we really want to build a community. You do not have to pay for locals. You can support us if you want, but you also don't have to join the community. But we figure we want to make a really strong community where you guys can talk to each other also, so that you can know you're not alone in the world, that there are plenty of other people like you who think that who want the world to change for the better and can see a lot of the problems. Let's see. So that's our locals community. Okay. Let's do this one. Thoughts on the Northern Sea route. I'm assuming that's the Red Sea and what's going on in the Red Sea right now. So let's just answer that.
If it is that one, even though I don't think so, is a reference to.
Well, there is stuff going on in the Red Sea, so let's.
Yeah. Well, the Red Sea. Well, the latest developments is that the group that starts with an H. I know YouTube doesn't like that. Starts with an H. So it's now announced there will be no ship passing through. End of story. Even China. Yeah. China. Yep. Stopped its ships that's going to. Yeah, Costco. They said we're not doing it. Yep. So it's not China was afraid. No, it's not about that. China does not want to get entangled because that creates tension between China and Iran. Yeah. So China said
they're like, nope, not doing it.
So the group, the H, came and said, we are not allowing any ship whatsoever. Yeah. Even though the U.S. launched a missile and drowned 10 people. Yeah. The group, H group, ain't taking that lightly. So they're gonna retaliate one way or another.
Well, and it's very interesting because there's been about 200 billion worth of trade that's had to be rerouted. The problem is that it adds cost, right? To reroute.
That is why what you just said, that is why the US wanted to make it bigger than it is, because it wasn't about maritime security. Right. It was about money for insurance.
And it's right. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Do all things with love. I like that screen name.
I do
Thank
too.
you so much for your super sticker. You wrote, no matter where you keep your cash, the government is already seizing it from innocent Americans all the time through administrative forfeiture. Forfeiture. There is some logic into that.
Definitely.
I agree with you.
Definitely.
It's unfortunately because most of us Americans are asleep till they wake up, till Americans wake up. My concern is that if it hits them hard.
My biggest concern with the US is actually the values gap that we have between the left and the right.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Because to me, what I think the real problem in the United States actually is this, right? It's the haves versus the have-nots.
It's getting wider.
But the average person isn't actually looking at, well, this is actually the people in charge versus all the rest of us.
Yeah.
Okay. People aren't looking at it that way. They're looking at it as right versus left. And to me, that seems very bad for the country, because you cannot have two extreme sides of basically political extremes, right? Yeah. Anytime, and look at the rest of the world, anytime you have a political extremist group, that's something that we're told is a bad thing, okay? But it's both sides. Both sides have their mostly middle ground, because most people fall in the middle, but then they have their far left, far right on either side. Yeah. So to me, especially in an election cycle, I have a lot of concerns about the election cycle that we're in right now, this election year. I have a lot of concerns about how that's going to end up turning out. But right now, I think most Americans are focused on that. They're focused on the presidential elections coming up and less about what's happening in the world. Because I think if people really paid attention to this new change that's happening with BRICS, I mean, quite frankly, the closeness of the Saudis and China is a huge deal. And people either don't know about it or they're not talking about it. They're focused on Russia and Ukraine. Well, man, you should be looking at the fact that the second largest economy is now trading in their currency with the top oil producer, right? Yeah. And that used to be dollars.
That's an indication.
And the reason that the dollar is allowed to have dominance, and the reason that the US is allowed to print money, is because there's demand for dollars. Yeah. If there stops being a demand for dollars, for example, if you had to buy oil in dollars, countries wanted dollars. Well, if you don't have to buy oil in dollars anymore, what does that do for the demand for those dollars?
It's going to go down.
It decreases. And so the reason that the US has been allowed to have this power, that reason is decreasing. And instead of focusing on that, people are focusing on left versus right. I will tell you what, I do not hear any candidates really talking about what the real issues are, because the real issues are complicated. They're not easy. They're not like,
politics.
your little sound bite.
It's because that's what they want to sell the American people. So if Americans are informed, they will know whatever those politicians are saying is nothing but hype.
Absolutely. But to me, the real issue isn't left versus right. It's up versus the rest of us. It's the handful of people that are really in charge versus basically the rest of us who have to live under the rules that they dictate, more or less.
There's a question here from Afwan Johnson. Good question. What do you guys think about South Africa dragging Israel to court for genocide crimes, and what will the consequences be South Africa by the West? A good question. As a matter of fact, the reason why I saw this, and a member of the Knesset in Israel, he is siding with South Africa.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because he's saying my country is committing crimes that beyond, this goes beyond self-defense. So what's going to happen? No, South Africa always stood at odds with the West, because you have to look at the history of South Africa. You all know what South Africa went through. It's the same thing.
Apartheid and all that.
And all it is because it is also a member of the ICC. So it has the right to bring, because any member can bring the case forward. Now, whether they're going to take it or not, that's remain to be seen. The US is not a signatory to it. China is not a signatory to it. I believe no, South Africa is going to move forward with it. Whether it's going to materialize or not, I have a little faith in that system altogether, because when it was the Russian president, they wanted to do it.
Right. And that's why I actually think it's interesting that South Africa is the one that is dealing with the ICC, because the ICC last year, 2024 now, last year, they did face that with Vladimir Putin.
That's why he didn't travel to South Africa, because he didn't travel, not because he was scared of that. He didn't travel because he didn't want to put South Africa in a bad position. Because
they would have been in a bad position.
If you only know how that Russian president traveled.
Probably with a lot of entourage and
it's
a
what's
decoy
and
all
months before.
Right.
And usually anytime he flies now, there are 4 Su-35. Oh, I'm sorry, Su-57, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the top notch. Scoring the plane and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm sure, we watched what happened to Prigozhin.
So it would be interesting to see. I don't know exactly what will happen, but if you have a member of the parliament in the Knesset in Israel siding with South Africa, it tells you that there will be a push for that. And I think it will down the road, because whatever just been happening cannot be ignored, because it goes beyond, including our own president. He will have to be held accountable for that. So this is what we. All right, guys, make sure to join us shortly. We're gonna just jump onto the other location. You already have the link for it there, right?
Rumble.com.
Maybe we should copy and paste it on the chat box.
Let me grab it for you guys.
There,
and can you grab the super sticker that we have while I do that?
Let me see here, because I gotta say thank you.
Yes, I am gonna copy and paste the link for you guys for Rumble.
That's Taleh. Taleh, thank you so much for your super sticker. You wrote "Stand for Truth."
Absolutely,
it does matter. It does matter. Thank you so much, Taleh. Truly appreciate it.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
Just put that for you guys. It's right there on the chat box. You just click on it. And we will see you soon. As always, remember or prepare yourself for the changing world order. See you guys shortly. Take care.